I'm Jen from Lunar Being. I'm joined by Abby today, and Abby's kindly to share her experience with mental health. So, hello, Abby.
Hello, it's so nice to be here. I don't know why I always do that when I'm coming on lives or recording. I always sing it. God
Okay.
knows why I do that. Hello, so I'm Abby Rowe. What am I? What do I do? I'm a guidance coach, I'm a published author, and I'm a journaling expert. That sounds very good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I also have bipolar, so hence why I'm here to share my story. So where do I start? My God. I lost my mum when I was 3. She walked into a road because she also had bipolar. It was in the 80s, so mental health in the 80s was unheard of. You would just, you had no reason to have mental health issues in the 80s. But the more we kind of looked at where she was at when she passed away, the doctor was like 95, 98% chance, she had bipolar. And from then on, basically, as a little girl, my feelings just went from a normal, average 3-year-old child to, they were on surround sound. I just literally inundated with feelings. Obviously, I saw a lot more around me than most people, and there was a lot of death around me all the time. I was passed from pillow to post because my dad had to work. And I remember being in school, being bullied and not feeling like I belonged. And it just started this huge anxiety fueled life, basically. So from then on, I had to find something that helped me with my mental health, because it started to get dangerous for me as a teenager. And that's when I found journaling.
Okay.
That is how I don't take medication, because obviously, as I said before we went recording, I've got kidney disease, and that's how I say sane. I use the word loosely.
Yeah.
Is that
such thing with bipolar disorder?
I stay as sane as I can. Yeah. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Okay, so So tell me a bit more about journaling then.
Okay, so I can remember when I was a kid, I used to journal and just like pop down what happens and what happened that day, and who your crush was and all those kind of things, and it helped me to channel the negatives. And then I started taking journaling very seriously about 3-4 years ago. And now I just got to show you, I have an obsession. I have like journals, after journals, and there's my book.
Ah, what's your book called?
It's called The Little Book of Journaling, Freedom from Within, and it's basically about my my journey with journaling, basically, and how it kind of all came. Yeah, it's like a little micro book, so you can put it in your bag.
Oh, cool. I will link and we'll add it onto this video. So guys, if you are interested in having Abby's book, then we will add the link in that you'll be able to go on and purchase that.
Yay!
So, that's amazing. So what's it like then for you living with bipolar?
Oh, okay. Have you got all day? So my biggest thing with bipolar is I don't know, and this sounds obviously a lot of like personality disorder, but it's not. It's definitely bipolar. I've had the two diagnoses 10 years apart. I can't get away from it. Waking up and not knowing who I'm going to be that day, and not knowing whether I'm going to be manic, depressed, what hat I'm going to be wearing, whether I'm going to be creative, need a routine, need to be fluid, can cope with life, can't cope with life. Basically, my brain is a chaotic mess sometimes, and I have to establish how I'm going to be as soon as I open my eyes that morning, which is pretty hard.
Yeah. So I too have bipolar disorder, and I'm quite vocal about that. I share a lot about my journey, and I don't take medication, not for health reasons, because of the adverse side effects, but it's actually quite uncommon for people with bipolar bipolar to not take medication, as it's such a complex mental health condition. It is.
Leave it in, it's fine.
Yeah. As it's such a complex mental health condition, it's often heavily medicated. So what things do you do then to manage symptoms?
I used to fight tooth and nail against every episode that I had to try and fit into the normal box. Mm-hmm. No, it's fine, everyone feels like this. No, hard. Just that I used to beast myself all the time, and I used to make my episodes worse. And to be honest, I didn't manage. I just had my episode, which lasted 3 or 4 weeks, whether that's mania or depression. Depression sometimes lasted for a lot longer. And then I used to just wipe it under the carpet and wait for the next episode like it never happened.
Yeah.
When I started journaling, it was the journaling that made me aware of all of those symptoms, all of those episodes, all of those feelings that I'd been kind of just thinking they were normal, and working through all of those. So my first and foremost is journaling, because you understand yourself, you can delve into yourself, you can ask yourself questions. You don't always have to go backwards, because I find it really difficult to go back to my past because of my mum. Mm-hmm. Another thing I do is I look to my spiritual side. So I use journaling to write spells. I do rituals, a lot of incense burning, a lot of lavender lashing all over me because I love the stuff. Just trying to ground myself. It is really calming, isn't it? I love it. What else do? I dance about a lot if I get in a manic episode, because it helps me channel my energy. I feel when I'm in a manic episode, I feel like I'm a 100-watt bulb with 1,000 watts going through it. And this goes too fast. This goes even faster. So I almost have to just sit there and just think, I'm having an episode. It's fine. I'm going to be okay. And ride the wave.
Yeah.
It's the only way it's mad, isn't it? I can't stop it. It's like...
I think the more and more I tried to fight with what I was feeling, the worse it became. And then I'd feel bad and I'd feel guilty about feeling a certain way. So I was like, I made friends with bipolar. So I've done loads of research, and I started to understand my condition, that it's a chemical imbalance in the brain. You can't control it.
No.
And it's very difficult to control. Like you say, you don't know who you're going to wake up being like in the morning. So yeah, I found like spiritual practices have really helped as well. It keeps me almost, like you say, sane. Yeah.
Sane-ish. Honestly, I know where you're coming from. I think it as well, you've got to understand when bipolar people are so different. We're similar in creatives and imagination and the way that, the manics and the depressives, but we deal with it very, very differently. And a lot of people, like, I've never met anyone that shares their stuff like you do. And I'm all over Facebook. If I have an episode halfway through it, I'm either live in it and going, this is the result of an episode, or I'm putting value in there for people and telling people having a mental health issue does not mean it's a weakness. It doesn't have to be a weakness. You can actually flip it and turn it into a strength. Mm-hmm. And I think that helping others is probably one of the biggest things that gets me through my episodes, and understanding others as well. Trying to be the leader is very difficult, obviously, when you've got your own issues and you've got other coaches telling you can't help anyone until you help yourself. But for me, I can't live unless I'm helping somebody.
Yeah, I do understand.
And that's not an ego thing.
And you know, that's such an amazing thing to do when we're struggling yourself, going through an episode, but you're still there and willing to help others. That's a pretty awesome thing to do. And that takes strength, and that takes bravery.
Some people turn around and say it's very egotistical though, and I'm like, well, no. not for me.
No, I don't think that it's acting in ego, is it? Because it's not for the glory. Jesus, it'd be lovely just to sit behind closed doors and have an episode and just sail through it, but and hide from it all. But by facing it and then going out and helping others, I think is not egotistical at all.
Absolutely. It's holding yourself accountable, I think, because I don't know whether any of your followers will know bipolar comes hand in hand with the demons. And that makes me sound insane, doesn't it?
No, I call them as well.
It's the demons. It's the suicidal thoughts that so a normal person will have suicidal thoughts and they can just go seconds. It will be seconds. With us, I don't necessarily sit and plan anything, but I can't just knock those thoughts away. It's like a spiral effect for me. And then it makes me feel like a bad mum. It makes me feel like I can't get away from them. It makes me feel worthless. And then I end up in a pit of despair where I'm like, what's the point? I keep getting myself back in this. And then all of a sudden, as quick as that chemical imbalance has switched, I'll crawl back out of it again. And that's where I think people are like, she's fucking insane. One day she's like absolutely crazy, mad and happy, and she can't possibly be depressed. And then the next day I'm like, don't even speak to me. I don't even know who I am. Like, it's but just like
what it is, isn't it? And it is hard to maintain that level, isn't it? You've got your bipolar mood scale where you've got your depressing then you've got you further up, and then you've got the green, which is like the normal. You've got your red, which is
what's the green?
And then you've got, then you've got mania, and then you've got
manic.
Complete mania,
off the charts.
Which is when we get the feelings of being godlike and grandeur and
like we can fly.
It's our fault that things have happened in the world and stuff like that. So then you've got like where I am most of the time is kind of just above that normal. I'm more sort of mania than I am depressive, but then I will go up and I'll crash. So then that's the difficult bit, is the crashing.
What goes up must come down.
Plans and all these dreams and all these arrangements that you've made in mania, suddenly you don't want to do anything when you're going down into that, having that crash and in the depression.
This is why I don't tend to plan anything, because I'll get tired with that she's being flaky, and it's not about that. Like, some days I can pick up the phone and speak. Like, if you'd have asked me to do this 3-4 days ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But because you asked me at the right time, because I'm feeling the vibe, because I fucking adore you, I absolutely love you. I only spoke to you, like, we were speaking for like an hour before or whatever. But it's what I'm trying to say is, like, people don't realise that you literally wake up the next day and you forget absolutely everything that you've done, or like the feelings of everything that you've done in the last month or so. Any organisation, any planning, anything like that just goes out the window. It's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And you're like, oh my God, how, like, still blows my mind.
Everything more difficult, doesn't it? It makes relationships more difficult, makes being a mum more difficult. But we are strong. We're bipolar warriors, and we can get,
oh hell yeah.
And I love the fact that you don't take medication. I know that you can't for other medical reasons, but I think that there are holistic ways of managing our symptoms. And for me, I think it's really about getting to know your illness, getting to know yourself, and having a strategy in place.
Yeah, the illness and your personality and the entwine, like, kind of, is that my personality? Is that the illness? You need to know what's what, and whether I've had it for so long now, it is just part of me. There is no getting away from it. Yeah. And it's exactly what you say, management tools, and people don't have a crisis plan. They don't have what happens if this happens. Yeah. At the minute, especially in isolation, I've had to tell my family to keep away from me, not in a bad way, But if I get days, I had an absolute meltdown last week, I think it was, and I knew I was traveling up to it. I could feel it come in, and then one day I woke up and I couldn't stop crying, and I was like, you're gonna have to get someone, because I don't know what to do with all of this, like these feelings. And everyone was amazing around me. Like, everyone got together, because I have never hidden it from anybody. When I really needed that help, it was given to me. And I think that's such a big tool to have in your tool belt if you've got a mental health issue.
Yeah.
People that bottle it up will only make it worse for themselves. They shouldn't be ashamed of themselves. They're not. I kind of think it as, you're not normal, and I like not being normal. I like it. I like being different. I like to talk about bloody aliens and talk about ancient things and talk about magic and what, you know, it's different. It's nice.
Yeah.
Takes me away from this mundane four-walled world.
Yeah, I used to be ashamed and embarrassed that of mental health and like my journey and things that I've done and things that I've been through. But do you know what? I shout from the rooftops now. It's not, you know, it's not the be all and end all of me. And it's, I don't just identify as somebody who's got bipolar. I've actually done some amazing things because of it.
That's exactly what I say.
And it is about managing your condition, and it's a, so I use manic to my advantage now. I think, right, I'm manic, I'm going to actually now blitz the house from top to bottom when I've got this uncontrollable energy.
That is exactly it.
Yeah, it's about getting to know yourself and getting and using it to your advantage. And I really
Instead of a disadvantage. That's what I get, like super powered. I do. I'm like superwoman. When I'm in a mania, I'm just like, right, 15 blogs done, that's done, writing about this, empowering people, inspiring people. But I go hard. When I go high, I go hard. And like you say, the the crashes ain't sexy, are they? It's really quite difficult to slow yourself down.
But then it's honouring that, isn't it? And thinking, no, right, do you know what? I've done that mad bit. I've done the crazy. I now need to have some time off. So some time away from online stuff and turn the phone off and just chill and just honour your feelings.
Sit with it.
Yeah.
Sit with it. Be with it.
Just like you said earlier, ride the wave.
Hug trees.
Yeah, go out in nature, go and do some spiritual work. And yeah, definitely. Just gotta go with it. So what advice would you give to somebody now who's recently had a bipolar diagnosis or think that they might have? What would your advice be to them?
I'm always going to go for journaling, and I'm always going to say to someone to write a journal prompt at the top of their journal, and I would probably go something like reminding yourself the diagnosis doesn't define you. Mm-hmm. It's not something that is going to stick. It's not, you know, shit to wall. It's something, think of it as something that is beneficial, or you, like you say, you channel it, you use it, you manage it. I would ask them to brain dump everything about how they're feeling, where they want to go with it, you know, what's actually happening. And that, doing that is going to help them 1,000%. It's going to make them feel lighter. It's almost like talking to a best friend, but you're putting it in a book. Okay. And you're being honest. It's always about being honest when you answer questions through journaling. You know, about suicide, there's books in my cupboard about suicide. There's books in my cupboard when I'm having a mania. There's books in my cupboard after I had Oliver. But they're thoughts that I've taken out of my head and I've put them on paper. That means they're not rattling around my head anymore and causing any more infliction or causing any more hurt. So that's my number one. And talk, just talk. If you're going to share your story, it's part of your story, and you sharing your story to anybody around you or onto social media, you are paving the way for other people to do the same, and you're paving the way for something inspirational to come out of it. So yeah, that would be my go-to.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think definitely like the brain dump. Just get that stuff out. We don't need to carry that around. It's only damaging ourselves, and half of it's just nonsense anyway that we're
Baggage.
do in our
Exactly.
brains. Yeah,
I
yeah,
get a lot of spiritual coaches, and I don't disagree, because it works for some people. But I get a lot of coaches that want to delve into my past, and me being bipolar, I don't need to go back there. It's I'm in the now. I've got wounds, but I'm going forward with that, and I'm going to heal myself going forward. Because if I go backwards, I can't change that. I can't change the fact that my mum left me when I was 3, and all the other stuff that happened afterwards. So don't think, if you've got a mental health issue, that you're going to have to go back to those bad places. You won't do that until you feel ready to do that. And if you're like anything like me and you don't want to, it's not a bad thing.
yeah. I think then it would be like finding the right therapist, because things like counselling, I guess, they will take you back. But
They do.
the way I work,
CBT.
yeah. So I did DBT,
Mm-hmm.
and I use some of that in my coaching now. I use some of the DBT skills, some neuro linguistic programming, as well, as spiritual tools.
Yeah.
So things like meditation, affirmations. I'm big on. Yeah, I do that, a lot of that, and it's all positive reinforcement and positive coaching that I do. The only thing where I really take people back is on the first session, and that's only just to do a little bit of history, and then the rest of it
Oh
is,
yeah, but yeah,
yeah,
knowing you've got to know somebody and how they're feeling and stuff like that. But I have a lot of coaches, or have had a lot of coaches, say that they can heal my past, and because I'm not susceptible to it. I think it's because it's not worked. I'm a bit like closed in that kind of thingy. But take me forward, give me energy work, do all those beautiful things. I am so spiritual in that regard, definitely.
yeah. I think different things will work for different people's scenarios.
Oh, good, yeah.
And you've got to find,
It's
my
finding
advice
what fits.
is find something that works for you, because we're all different, aren't we? And we all
Yes.
different treatments and different therapists. But yeah, look around, find a therapist that you feel. I would say go on feelings. If you feel connected to that therapist, or feel connected to that certain person, or like say like going into groups, find support groups. Most definitely find people that are on the same wavelength as you, that understand what
Do
you're going.
you find Facebook groups, like the bipolar groups, do you find that they are helpful, or do you find they're like friggin' hellholes?
I'm not in any. um, that's all I'm going
Don't
to
go in
say.
anything like that. It's finding an individual like we've done past, it's finding someone that understands you. I find, especially for anyone bipolar listening, don't go into the bipolar groups. It's not healthy. It's almost like a congregation of people wanting to spout their negative shit, and it's never going to turn out in a good way. I've been in there and tried to be positive.
Yeah, good luck with that. But
Oh,
also as well, I mean, I say this as, I don't know if I'll get a bit of stick for this, but it's almost like some people want to stay in that victim mentality, and
you won't
they
get a stick, baby, not from me, because that's
are.
exactly it. It
um,
is.
and a diagnosis means an excuse to,
Yes.
or
Victim. It's playing the victim.
and if you stay in that victim mentality, then that's where you're going to stay, and you're not going to
Yeah.
progress, you're not going to move forward if you're constantly talking about the negatives and talking about your illness. The more you talk about it, the more you're going to get ill. Is
Yeah.
how I look at
It's the internal dialogue, isn't it? Every time I get poorly, I'll share it, but I'll always share how I got out of it, and
it.
I'll
Yeah,
always share something positive within my posts, unless I'm dire, and then that's when I need help. But these people are constant. I've tried to help with mental health, because I've lived it my whole damn life, and I found that I was more of a emotional punching bag for people. You know, they were handing me the keys and telling me to drive, basically, and I should be curing them. And it's like, it's not about that. There is no cure. It's going to be with you forever. It's about how you handle the situation and how you channel it and how you manage it. That's exactly obviously what we've been saying. But a lot of people don't. They just think it's going to go away, or someone else can take it away. And that's just not the case. There's a lot of internal work that you've got to do, regardless of whether you're spiritual, regardless of whether you like writing or journaling. You have to delve inwards and find your inner guide again, I guess.
Yeah, and it's learning to trust that inner person, isn't it? And it's, I say this time and time again, our most important relationship is the
It's
one
with ourselves.
with ourselves.
Yeah,
That's the one that needs working on the most,
definitely.
because we are always going to be with ourselves, regardless of anybody else who comes and goes out of our lives. That includes, you know, children, that includes parents, that includes close family and friends. We're only going to be with ourselves, and so getting that relationship right is the most important one.
I am two people. I am literally, like I was saying to you before, I swear I've got two souls in me, because one day I'm like this confident kind of, you know, I don't know, just manic person that can do anything. And then this other one's very introverted and very shy, but they work well together. They talk to each other. Do you know what I mean? They learn to manage.
Yeah, I think it is. It's just learning about yourself, isn't it? Yeah. Um, wow. That
Woohoo!
was whew, that was a good old chat, wasn't it? Thank
Good
you
little
so
chin wag.
much.
Take care, my lovely.
Bye.